What's good? I'm Noah Cuz. I'm back on the Splitmind channel today. You guys really seem to like the other tutorial I dropped, so I figured I'd drop another one ASAP. I'm gonna be dropping a lot of content the next couple weeks, so be on the lookout. Today's video is gonna be how to make like insane, atmospheric, spacey, vibey melodies. I'm gonna be talking a lot about processing in this video, so make sure you watch all the way through. I don't really know what I'm gonna title this video yet, but anyway, I'm just gonna start breaking down this loop. So this is what the melody sounds like. You get the point. Super fire, super atmospheric, super vibey, and I'm gonna show you how to make it. So the first thing you gotta do is set your BPM. I set it to 134 in this case. So this is the first sound that I added. It's a bell out of my new one-shot kit that's gonna be dropping soon. Be on the lookout for that. So you know, it's simple. These are the root notes that you're doing. It's just a simple little baby chord progression. It's a 1, 3, 6, 7 chord progression. So alright, so I just turned scale highlighting on so you can see what I'm talking about here. This A sharp is the 1 of the scale. So each of these highlighted notes is another number. So this would be the 1, this would be the 2, the 3, the 4, etc. This chord progression is dumb simple. Starts on the 1, goes up to the 3, down to the 6, and to the 7. It's a very common chord progression in music. You should definitely be familiar with it. Then I just have this A sharp minor or B flat minor, whatever you want to call it. And then I brought the third of the chord down for the second one. And then I just had that repeating the entire way through. And then you can see I brought this top one down just to give it some variation at the end. So next I copied those chords up an octave and I just kind of like chopped them up to make them sound dope. After that I laid in this top melody. And for the top melody I really just clicked in what I heard in my head. Just play through it and try to come up with a melody in your head and do your best to click them in. There's no real tips to that, you just kind of have to do it and you'll get better at it with time. So for effects on that sound I added this Fab Filter Pro Q3, cutting out a lot of the highs and the lows, boosting the lows right here, cutting in the lower mids, and then this small cut in the mids just because there was some resonance that I didn't like. Next I added this super simple Valhalla vintage verb, and then you can see I cut on the mixer EQ some. So for the next sound, I just copied the top line melody that I did last time. I also did Alt-R to randomize the velocities. So for this next sound, I just copied the top line melody of the other one, and I'm gonna play what that sounds like. Alright, so for effects on this one, I just added this EQ, just a narrow band pass to cut out a lot of the highs and the lows. Next, I added this Portal preset, and this is from Steven Schaefer and Pilgrim's Portal Bank. You should definitely go cop it on drumify.com if you haven't already. It's super fire, it adds like a ton of textures to your melody, and it's definitely worth copying. Next is this Valhalla vintage verb, just adding a little bit of reverb, good Hertz Valve compressor, a little bit of compression, and I brought down the wow and the lo-fi some, and I just have this pan man going back and forth. And then I cut out the lows on the mixer EQ on this one too. So this next sound is this vocal I got from Contact. This is the Bank, and this is what it sounds like. I'm gonna show you guys what it sounds like without effects, and then I'll break down all of the effects. So this is what it sounds like dry. So it's pretty fire, you know, but with the effects I added, I'm gonna show you what I did. So the first thing I added was little altar boy. This is the sauce for vocals. If you guys aren't using this on your vocals, you're missing out. So I just pitched it down and brought the format down all the way just to pitch it down a full octave. And I brought the mix down to about 30% to get some of that dry signal back in there. Next I used an EQ also with the bandpass narrow just to cut a lot of the highs and the lows again. And I went for this reverb just to give it some ambience. Next I added this Valve compressor with these settings. Next I added another bandpass narrow, cutting out a lot of the highs and the lows. And then this Soothe 2 plugin. I've had a decent amount of people ask me what this plugin does. Basically it's a resonance suppressor. So like earlier on when I cut a little bit in this, I was trying to tame the resonance, which is just any of those ringing frequencies. But what this Soothe plugin does is it actually gets rid of them for you. You just have to tell it the range of where to cut, and then how much to cut. Once that frequency's gone, you can change the mix to kind of mix back in the original and make it sound more natural. It's a super dope plugin. It's my go-to whenever I have any of those issues. And then finally I have this EQ just cutting a lot of the lower mids and then boosting the highs. So for this next sound, I just copied the root notes over. So yeah, that's fire. So for effects, I just have a super simple EQ cutting out a lot of the highs, and then this 1176 compressor just compressing it a little bit. Then you can see I did this EQing on the mixer EQ. So next I have the synth bass from Analog Lab. It's from one of the loophole kits, I can't remember which one. And this is what it sounds like. So for effects on this one, I just added simple decapitator, giving it a little bit of distortion. So this next sound I added was a texture. It's like some jungle or something. So the last thing I wanted to add were these bells, so I just grabbed a couple of bell one-shots out of my new one-shot kit. So this one is on the 1, and then this one reverses at the end into the 1 of the next 8 bars. I put all of them on the same mixer track, and I added these effects: Valhalla Vintage Verb, Simple EQ, and then this mid-side matrix to make it super stereo. Then I did some more channel EQ down here. So from there, I just rendered out all of the sounds and then structured it how I wanted it. And I included the stems at the end, of course. After you're done that, go ahead and bounce it into another audio file. And you can see in this one, I pitched it down 2 semitones and then added it to its own mixer track. Then I added some master effects. So for effects, I just added this wacky preset from Sketch Cassette. I might have changed a couple things, I can't remember. And then I added this Gulfos plugin. And this is really similar to that Soothe plugin that I showed you earlier, but it functions a little bit differently. If there's anything in your master that you need to clean up, just put it on the master track and mess around with these knobs. It'll get rid of that resonance that I was talking about earlier. Next, I added this mid-side matrix, bringing up the sides a little bit. And then I had to add this EQ, and I just did a couple cuts where some frequencies were ringing. And then the last thing I added was this limiter just to make it a little bit louder. So yeah, that's basically the entire loop. It's not really too complicated, but the processing is really what makes it sound dope. But yeah, it's how you make like atmospheric, ambient, spacey melodies for Gunna and Lil Baby from scratch. Like I said, subscribe to Splitmind, turn on the notification bell, and go follow my Instagram @NoahCuz. I'm gonna play the sample at the end, but yeah, thank you all for watching. Peace.